My name is Joe. 20 years ago, my wife and I moved to Lake County with our 4 young children and settled down. In that time, we've worked, worshiped, played, and raised our family. Today, I've met the people and discovered the businesses and organizations that make up a vibrant, dynamic community. Join us as we share with you what makes South Lake great. I'm Joe, and Joe knows South Lake.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy South Lake morning. Another day in the shutdown. Obviously, I am with my friend, John C. Donahue. Welcome, John, to Joe Knows South Lake.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. Looking forward to it. Happy Star Wars Day.
Star Wars Day. May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be with you.
May the 4th be. I said, somebody told me yesterday you got to do the Yoda 3-claw thing.
That's not with these hands.
May the 4th be with you. Look, hey everybody. We hang on. Gee,
nice.
Got too much technology now. Jay used to control all of that. Now that we've gone gorilla, I got to control some of it myself. Look, you guys know John. He is the host of Walt Disney World Park Hoppers. He is the owner and CEO of John C. Donahue Coaching. Tell us what else you do, John. You got such a long list. I have a hard time remembering it all.
Well, I'm the community manager, marketing director for a company called Membership Multipliers. I work with an online coach. I'm kind of his right-hand man. But in my part-time, I am one half of the Disney Parks podcast. I have my own site, like you mentioned, WDW Park Hoppers, which every now and then my wife and I go live and do some fun stuff around Disney. So I do those two things, and I do some coaching on the side. You can always find me at John C. Donahue on Facebook. Oh, look at that! So all sorts of stuff being shared there. I've written a couple of books. One of them is I've written the Disney Bucket List, and I've done a couple of things, not a lot. I try to keep busy, you know.
Okay, so one of the reasons I think that John and I click so much is because we are both, we're kindred spirits, but we are both in that mindset and constantly trying to help each other with all the 19 projects that we are involved with. And if truth be told, John probably helps me a whole lot more than I help him. But
I don't know about that.
So here's the deal. Today we're going to talk about Star Wars, because John is also my Star Wars geek friend. He is my sci-fi buddy. I'm a big fan of sci-fi. But John, because of his association with Disney, the Imagineers, for his love of it, was also and his love for Star Wars, was one of the first to get to the park, the new Disney Star Wars park. We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first I want to get the intro out of the way. So, what are we grateful for today? Today's gratitude check. You know, I'm grateful for choice. You know, it doesn't kind of feel, we kind of looked at this whole, things are going to be open. And I kind of thought it was going to be like this big celebration. Just doesn't get there. But I am grateful to be able to go out and maybe support some small local businesses. And that's my deal of the day. The deal of the day is what you get, the blessing you get, not because you're going to save money today, because you're going to go out and you're going to support a business that was struggling. The deal is, by giving to others, you get so much more back in your spirit, in your heart, in the grand scheme of things. Give, and it shall be given to you. Pressed down, shaken together, and running over. I know I messed that verse up, but you get the right idea. How about you, John? What are you grateful for today?
I'm just grateful for another sunny day, and to be brutally honest and selfish, the neighborhood pool is opening up, so we're getting to go back to our pool.
Amen.
My wife and I had a great weekend. I'm one of those lucky people who have been able to work through this whole craziness and not take too much of a financial hit. So I just a lot of blessings. I mean, there's a lot of things that I could sit and point out and be really upset about. But honestly, I'm way more blessed than I have challenges. So I guess that, in a nutshell, all of that pressed down, shaken together, you know.
I used to have when I was a time in my life that I needed some help, and I went away to get some help, and there was a guy there, this country boy pastor, and he was kind of a not your typical pastor. It's kind of one of these guys that came from a rough background and spoke a rough truth. But man, if he was so Louisiana, back bayou country, you'd ask him how he was doing, he'd say, "Blessed and then some." Ooh,
yeah, I came from Georgia, man. I know too many of those people. I'm probably related to half of them. But
this is in of itself probably a truism if you're from the South. They have that up north. They just don't talk about it. They're not proud of it, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, if you married your sister's cousin, you don't tell people, just.
Yeah.
Well, they get the same last name as you. Yeah. There's a lot of us Dubays up here. There's a lot of us Arsenals up here. Well, there's only 4 French names really when you're up in the North Country, so you can get away with it, right? Anyways, we're going to go to commercial break real quick. When we get back, we're going to get started on Star Wars. I'll see you in a minute.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors.
"50 West" now pre-leasing 28,900 square feet of commercial, professional office space in Claremont. Conveniently located on Highway 50, less than 2 miles from the Turnpike. A first of its kind in the Southeast, this pristine building creates the perfect blend of nature and modern design. If you seek a high-level image that matches your business, reserve your space today. 50 West, unique, quality, Class A. For more information on leasing, contact Ashley Punn at 407-403-4165, Karen Arlano at 407-948-0767, or visit lease@50west.com.
Burgerum, located in the Epic Theater Shopping Plaza on Highway 27, is the premier destination for gourmet burgers. Using only the freshest ingredients, Burgerum offers a variety of burgers, salads, wings, and a whole lot more. Beef, chicken, lamb, fish, and even veggie. Burgerum has something for everyone, no matter your dietary preference. Burgerum, millions of possibilities, endless combinations.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors.
Okay, all right. Nice to be back. Once again, we are joined by my dear friend. Actually, I would go as far as to say that other than my wife, John is my best friend, and I think that I am probably in that category for John. At least close to it.
No, you're lucky if you have like one best friend in your whole life. I've been very blessed. I can count on like 2 or 3 fingers. I won't tell you which finger you are, Joe, but
I think we can all guess.
I'm just kidding. No, I consider you like a brother. So you're on that short list.
One of the cool things about John and I's friendship, and he really is kind of helping me out doing this in the shutdown, people's emotions and people's attitude and spirit have gotten really suppressed. It's really hard to get people to interview even like this now.
Really?
John came out. I kind of wanted to do something for Star Wars because it is May the 4th, and I knew that he was my friend that would have all the info, and I really appreciate him doing it last minute. As a matter of fact, he had to work it out with his boss, so he has taken time out of his paid job to do this for us, and we really appreciate it. The other thing is John is, when John does things, he does things because he's passionate about them and he cares. And one of the reasons he does Disney is not just because he loves going and being entertained, but he's passionate about the whole concept. I know that one of his, you've heard me talk about distance mentors, people that may or may not be living, somebody we've never met, who've achieved certain things. We can look at the way they live their life, and I'm sure Walt Disney, to some degree, is one of his distance mentors. And that's one of the reasons why he is so informed. He is very connected. I'm actually honestly amazed by the number of people that are like in the workings of Disney that John has managed to connect with. I had a chance to go to a meetup with him and have an understanding of his audience because there were 25, 30 people at this meetup. We were at Disney, obviously before this all happened, and they were from all over the country. Mm-hmm. And they had come in to go to this meetup. I've actually met people in my real estate business from Texas and Ohio that when I happen to mention I know John from Park Hoppers, they're like, "You don't know John."
Yeah, that's humbling. That's truly humbling. But everybody comes to Disney from a different direction, and my wife and I are actually very late into the Disney fandom because I never really came to the parks when I was a kid, and I think she came once. And we had just got married. We had just moved to Florida, 14 years ago, and a buddy of ours convinced us to buy annual pass tickets, and that was back when it was somewhat affordable. And little dig there.
Yeah. Florida residents got for the cheap.
Yeah. My wife and I both come from a production background, and production meaning lights and sound and staging and design. And our first trip was to Epcot, and we went that night and saw Illuminations, Reflections of Earth, the fireworks spectacular. And we were so blown away. We got up early the next day, and we were living in Tampa, mind you. Got up early the next day and drove to the Magic Kingdom and fell in love with it. And we just devoured everything from park facts to I've read probably every book on the life of Walt Disney. I've read tons of books on the creation of Walt Disney Studios and the parks, Disneyland, Walt Disney World. I've even read the books talking about the Michael Eisner era, which was, the first half was great, second half not so much. So I come from that background, but a lot of people come from the nostalgia of it because they've been coming since, like my podcast partner's been coming since he was 6 years old. And he's got all of that legacy, and I don't have that. I had to learn all that. So to touch on your mentoring from Walt Disney, when I walk at Walt Disney World, but especially the few times I've been able to go to Disneyland, I'm homesick for someone that I've never met, but I feel like I know.
Right.
That's a very hard emotion to process through, but that's how I feel when I walk the park. So it frustrates me when things aren't the way that Walt traditionally wanted them. So that's why something like Galaxy's Edge, which is the new Star Wars land, has been so exciting because it is far and beyond what Walt Disney wanted.
And that's such an important thing to understand. It's funny. It's here in the area we hear an awful lot. I've heard people jokingly refer to, and some seriously refer to Central Florida as the land of the rat. I mean, it's, we hear a lot of the seedy underbelly stuff if you're a local,
Sure.
Because people love bad news. But the reality is, Disney, in a large way, I mean, it is our largest employer.
Absolutely.
I was with some fellas a couple of weeks ago who are, and again, let me say that I'm not out of my league when I'm with these guys, but they are far more advanced in their career than I am. Okay, they've all been doing finance, banking, and investing for 30, 40 years. Since they were young, and I've only come to stability the last couple of years. And I use that term very loosely, by the way. But they were pointing out to me, a couple of these guys talked about, by watching Disney, you can tell how the Fortune 500 companies in the world are going to go, that there is a maxim, as Disney goes the rest of the business world, and that's that's kind of scary considering they're all shut down now.
Yeah, and that's the one thing about this whole time that's kind of weird to see how Disney's handled it with furloughing. Well, let me even go back. We were at Disney the day before they closed. So it was a Sunday, I think the 13th or 15th of March, and they had sent the college kids home. They had sent all of the foreign kids home, college kids, local kids, the college program kids from the different countries. A lot of the performers were let go, and then they were starting to lay out phases of furloughing, and it was very surreal to be there that day, and people were crying, and there's a lot of uncertainty, and we talked about it, and I had said this, I think, on one of the podcasts. There's one thing I know, that Disney is going to figure out a way to come back stronger than ever before. And then I'd even kind of thrown out, Disney will figure out a way to make some magic. And if you look at what they did with Disney Plus, if you look at what they did with the sing-along on ABC, if you look at, and a couple other things for video-on-demand purchases earlier than they should have, I mean, Disney's figuring out a way to make it happen. But they'll come back. It'll be different. We might have to wear masks for a while. But it'll be back. It'll be normal. It's just, there's no way that it can't. Disney is too big. They're too smart. And we love them too much. And the state of Florida needs them.
Right. And I think that really, a lot of people don't understand how important, not just employment-wise, but emotionally, Disney is to us.
Yeah.
They're kind of like that thing, that big thing you make fun of. I grew up in New England, and there were a lot of industrial plants then. It was the 70s. And it was really funny that I can remember people in paper mill towns or shoe mill towns complaining about the mill until the mill got shut down.
Oh, yeah.
And then it's like, oh, my God, what am I going to do? And I just don't see... the advantage is it's hard for Disney to move. They've got a serious infrastructure investment, billions of dollars, so they have to come back. They're not going to throw all that away. Not like they can sell that off to a Japanese company or something, right?
Well, let's not go too crazy. Never say never. Never say never,
but the most likely thing is they're gonna come back in that area somehow. So So let's talk about this. You are, because you are the park hopper guy. What do you know of? And I know you're not in the boardroom. But what have you heard about them opening? How soon can we look at? I've heard things that they're just going to go exclusive for rich people, and I've heard that they're going to have discounts for everybody. I just don't see the exclusive rich people. I don't see, in the conversation I was in, I don't see the kind of people they're talking about it becoming just a premium service and not letting other people in.
Well, I have often said that if you have enough money and it is not illegal, Disney will figure out a way to make it happen.
This is true.
But here's what I know. My wife works in a major hotel in Orange County. Well, Orange County also holds half of Disney World. Disney World is in 2 different counties. They have their own municipality, Reedy Creek. So they kind of make up their own rules, and they can pit one county against each other. All that being said, there are certain things that the government is stating can and cannot happen. So phase 1, you're not allowed to have large group meetings. Phase 2, you're still not allowed to have large group meetings. So that means that Disney's not going to be able to open up the gates and have, accessible, shows or rides. Or I do know that anything that we're talking about is some theory, some conjecture, and until Disney states it officially in a press release, that we don't know what we don't know. But we can guess. Somewhere around the 1st of June to, sometime in August or September, Disney will reopen in phases. They're not going to be able to reopen full because they don't have the college program kids. They just don't have the manpower. They're not going to be able to open all 4 gates, meaning all 4 theme parks, to maximum capacity because they're just not going to have enough button pushers or street sweepers or cooks to cook the food. They're just not going to have enough. So over a period of time, they'll open up. My personal belief is going to open up Hollywood Studios first because it's got Star Wars. They'll get consistent there. Then they'll open up, Magic Kingdom, or they might open up 2 parks for a period of time. And then as they bring some of the furloughed cast members back, then they'll start opening up more and more and more. But until they can have people gathered, it's a little bit of a moot point. They don't have any of the hotels open yet. They're not even taking, I believe, they're not even taking reservations until June 1st for future stays. So it's a lot of that. So Disney's a long way away from being open, but it's a lot closer than it was a couple of months ago. And I know that sounds like a duh statement, but a couple of months ago we didn't know if Disney would open till 2021, but it seems like we're probably talking a couple of months as opposed to several months. That's the best answer I can give.
It seems from the few conversations that I've heard is that the 2021 number is open full bore. It might take till spring of 2021, the advent of widely used vaccinations, that sort of thing, before they're open like they were before. The other thing I thought that was very interesting, and again, you have to be inside the mind of Disney and know all of their things, but I heard somebody theorize that one of the things they would open quickly would be Animal Kingdom because they have to take care of the animals. It's a fixed cost, right? They have. It's not like some of the other parks that they could just shut down, right? You can't stop feeding an animal, and so they have a certain cost there, and opening that up to offset some of that loss might be.
Well, yes, but let me ask you this: do you think that if they opened up Animal Kingdom, they'd make more money than if they opened up, Magic Kingdom, which is the heart of the parks? Or?
I had heard that they would open that up in conjunction to the big draw, so it gives them one more. That they would open up something like Hollywood Studios, but it would also be in conjunction with Animal Kingdom, because people are going to get sick of if they come for a week. It's you and I could spend a week at Hollywood Studios.
Yeah.
But a lot of people want the thing, especially if something like Universal and SeaWorld doesn't open up right away.
Right, so. Absolutely. But, they still have to have manpower. It's all about manpower. And I've got enough cast member friends who are still sitting at home. So until they get those notices saying, hey, I've heard rumors that certain restaurants are going to reopen around June, but nothing confirmed. I do know that Disney Springs is probably going to be the first, big area to open up because a lot of those, a majority of that area of Disney is not Disney run. It's run by other companies. You've got all the restaurants there that are, renting the space. So Disney's not having to run it. But then again, Disney is having to provide security. Disney is having to provide some presence in the park. So.
And those restaurants are not necessarily all big, large chains. Some of them are just smaller, local. I mean, the Polite Pig is a perfect example.
Right.
Just a couple of locations. It's a local regional company, and
right.
So, they kind of have to get open, if they're going to survive. The Disney side of their operation might do better than the other locations they have that don't have the same kind of draw. All right. Cool. So Disney is going to open. It will be there. We just have to be patient. Tell us about Galaxy's Edge.
Had I been my 7-year-old self was 7 in 1977, which is a big year for Star Wars, if you know the history. My brain would have literally exploded. I was not ready for the immersion, the complete and utter immersion of Galaxy's Edge. So, for those of you who've not been there, when you arrive onto Hollywood Studios and you make your way back, there is a tunnel that you walk through. As you walk through the tunnel, you leave Earth. You just completely leave the normal Hollywood Studios. You forget that you're in Florida, and you round a corner, and there's laser blasts into the wall. There's all sorts of things happening that show you are in a different world. And there's full-size TIE fighters and full-size X-Wing fighter, and there's a couple other Resistance fighters there. And then you finally walk up to the Millennium Falcon. It's there. It's a full-size ship, and it literally, I mean, I'm a Star Wars fan, and I didn't think that I was going to be that emotional about it. I started crying because it was more overwhelming than I anticipated. Because as you're walking around Galaxy's Edge, and they've done an amazing job. First of all, you're on the planet of Batu, which is where my cup is from, and Galaxy's Edge is technically it's Black Spire Outpost. You are surrounded by these black spires, and they've done such an amazing job with the plants and the way that they've done the artwork and the rock work. You're on a different planet. You forget that you're, 3 or 4 football fields away is Toy Story Land. You forget that. And there are people walking around who are wishing you, I can never remember the morning suns or, whatever. I can never remember the phrases, but the cast members there have phrases that are completely unique. You don't say hello and goodbye. You say these phrases, and, there's stormtroopers just walking by, and then there's Chewbacca just walking by. There's Rey, there's Kylo Ren, and if you're lucky, you'll see, Hondo Onaka giving a speech. It's mind-blowing. And then you go eat, and the food doesn't look normal. It tastes amazing, but the food doesn't look right. It's an amazing experience. And if you're a real fan and you go into the Den of Iniquities, or Den of Antiquities, Den of Iniquities was where's Lost Ark? Den of Antiquities.
That'll be something else.
Yeah, sorry. The place where all of the different collectibles are, you see little things like there's remember in the movie Return of the Jedi, Boba Fett got thrown down in a pit, and there was an animal down in the pit pulling people in. There's a baby one sitting right there, and you can watch it. It's crazy. And, you go into the cantina area, which is not the cantina, but, you go in there to have a cocktail, and it's crazy. It's just an amazing experience just from a purely visceral, it's emotional, it's truly breathtaking. I wish I had enough adjectives to describe it.
It's really funny that, Star Wars as a franchise has been one of the most popular franchises in the history of film. I believe at this point it has made more money as a franchise than any other franchise of films, with maybe the exception of Lord of the Rings, as a franchise. And
I don't know. I might argue that the Marvel franchise has done.
The what?
The Marvel franchise. I might argue that with you.
Yeah, but you're talking a set of movies. If you were to do Marvel, you would have to pick, Iron Man pick, as a consistent. Yeah. So here's the thing. It's hard, I think, for anybody who is, let's say, under 35, 40, to understand how life changed. I was 15 in 1977 when the movie came out. I can remember going and washing windows in my neighborhood, or in a rich area of my neighborhood for $1 a window, so I could make enough because I knew make enough money because it was a time before video. Mm-hmm. So if you went back to school, this was one of those movies that was so good that if you went back to school and you hadn't seen the movie like 6 times, which meant you had to buy a ticket each and every time, it's gonna be like, wearing a sign that said "I'm on the welfare."
Yeah.
Right. I mean, it was a status symbol, but it was because it was, for a lot of us, it was a life-changing. I mean, growing up in the 70s was a time of great emotional and spiritual oppression. Where every place you looked around, cities were falling apart, crime was rampant. There really wasn't drugs. I mean, it was just, people think of it as this blanket, fluffy disco time, but there was a lot of heaviness. The concept of the serial killer was developed in the 70s, and you ended up with a movie like Star Wars, which was a difference from the way other movies were made. A lot of movies were made, there was no happy ending. The good guys didn't necessarily win, or the good guys had some basic character flaw that you couldn't like them. Right. So you had something like Star Wars, and it was literally life-changing if you were a teenager and formulating your belief system. So I would imagine that going there and seeing that is the culmination of a dream. And now my kids grew up with Star Wars.
Right.
Right? I mean, I can remember taking them to, when Episode 1 was released, taking them to the re-release of Episode 4, 5, and 6,
right?
So that they would be aware when Episode 1 came out.
Right. Yeah, but you see, the thing that the modern era doesn't understand, and my wife is really good about not watching trailers and not watching, spoilers and stuff, is we have those nowadays.
Yeah.
Back then, I mean, Joe, episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, when Darth Vader said, "No, I'm your father."
Yeah, that was the first time you saw that. You were in the movie.
I'm screaming in my brain, like, that's not even right. Although, had I known German, Darth Vader is Darth Father. So,
yeah.
But that's the kind of thing, and we saw, back in those days, like, I saw Raiders of the Lost Ark probably 30 times in the movie theater. I saw Star Wars later in the run, like October, because I had seen all the trailers on TV, and I started collecting the toys because everybody had the toys. Like, I had a Star Wars party for my birthday, which is in the 1st of October, before I'd seen the movie. And I had no idea. Like, I thought that Darth Vader was a good guy. I mean, I had no idea. But I collected all that stuff because I was in love with it. And then when I saw the movie, I loved it even more. And it just grew and grew and grew. And there was no idea that it was even possible to do what Galaxy's Edge has done. We got a glimpse of it with Pandora, the world of Avatar, at Animal Kingdom. But even that is nowhere close to what they've done with Star Wars.
In the release of Galaxy's Edge was much more like movies were advertised back in the 70s. I can remember, there wasn't, Star Wars didn't have a lot of television ads. You had some trailers. If you went to see another movie, but you didn't go to see movies every week. I mean, going to see a movie was something you might have done once. Older people got to do it. It was date night, right? Mm-hmm, that was a big deal. If you were 15 years old and you took a girl out to a movie, it was a movie that had been out for 4 or 5 months. Movies didn't switch over quite as quickly either, right? Because there was no video release, so they didn't pull it down so they could get another sale frame from it. But I can remember the trailer for Star Wars was, one of those dogfights. It was laser. You didn't see any of, like you said, the spoilers, or today you see a trailer, it's the best moments of the movie.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like that then. So there was so much that was so deeply ingrained. You really wished when you came out of Star Wars, you wanted to see it again because you really wished you could immerse yourself in that life, the great fight against the Republic and, the Empire, and you're part of the Resistance. And, man, overnight, even things like everybody, even the cool kids were making "May the Force be with you" jokes.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing that Galaxy's Edge has done that's been so amazing, and for those of you who aren't local, or, well, most people watch this are probably local, but for those of you who watch this that don't understand, when Galaxy's Edge opened, it only has 2 attractions. Smuggler's Run, the Millennium Falcon ride, or Rise of the Resistance. And they only opened with Smuggler's Run first. And then Rise of the Resistance opened, I don't know, a few months ago. And it's incredible. I've not ridden that ride yet because I haven't felt like getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and going standing in line. And I want to ride it. It's not that I don't, but the ride for me was the Millennium Falcon.
Right.
You walk completely around that structure. So when you go into the queue area, you're walking around that ride. I mean, you're walking around that ship. And then you go into, I won't describe it, but eventually you wind up inside the Millennium Falcon. And as a kid, watching Han Solo hit that button and go into hyperspace, go into faster than light, just blew my mind. And you do that in the ride. I've been able to pilot the Millennium Falcon. I'm done. I'm done with that. I could check that. Got married, piloted the Millennium Falcon, got that done. I could go at any time and be a happy man.
There was a day in the world we couldn't admit to being geeks, John. Thank God we have a more inclusive world.
Absolutely.
Well, John, this has been great. I really appreciate you taking the time. I've actually taken more of your time than I told you I would. Thank you for sticking with us. I know you love talking about it because you love me and you're passionate about Disney and Star Wars. Do you have any final words before we go to break?
Oh, no, just thank you so much. You guys, when it reopens, just be patient. Disney's going to be there. It's not going anywhere. Be patient, and when you go, enjoy it, because now you know what it's like when it's not there.
All right. Thank you so much, John. Look, everybody, stay tuned for just another minute. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. When we come back, Joe's final thoughts and the Cup of Joe. See you in a minute.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors.
Life is better when you're smiling. At Modern Orthodontics, Dr. Alan Wong has changed thousands of lives helping patients achieve the modern smile with braces and clear aligners. Utilizing digital scanning technology, Modern Orthodontics creates in-office 3D models for clearly modern aligners. Modern Orthodontics is conveniently located in Claremont, Apopka, and Bushnell. Call or text us to schedule your free exam and create your modern smile today.
Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors.
And welcome back. Oh, it's so great to have my friend John with us. I really, I don't have a whole lot of close friends, but the ones I have, I really, really love. I mean, man, I can't tell you that John has been there for me in some really down times and some up times. I was grateful to help him and his wife find a place where they could build their new home, help fulfill a dream of theirs, something where they could pick everything, and it was just my joy to be able to help them with that. Final thoughts. Look, the world is going to open, and I alluded to this a little bit earlier, and this actually, Disney, as I said in the thing in the interview with John, Disney is one of those things we love to complain about. We love to talk about how they're so big and they don't love individuals. Well, you know what? They're a business. And now that they're not running, we kind of miss them. And we realize, even if you don't work for Disney, how all that Disney does supports a lot of the ancillary and secondary businesses that are in the support structure for all the overflow. You know, the people spending $20,000, $30,000 for a week at Disney might stay on Disney property, but the people who are spending $3,000 for a week are staying in hotels and restaurants that are not on Disney property. So I would like to remind you, when this gets open, let's not focus quite as much maybe on all the negatives of the large corporations that employ our people. Let's focus a little more on the positive. Finally, Cup of Joe, feeling it. You know, I alluded to this a little bit earlier. Things are open. I kind of thought I'd be excited, and I'm happy that things are open, but it's really, really hard, because you know what the truth is? I'm not feeling it. And I realized just yesterday that, you know what? I might have to take a step in faith. I might have to believe. I might have to be patient. I might have to put one foot in front of the other just a little bit longer and enjoy what I can enjoy. This week, Jay and I are going to get out and see some of these businesses that are opening. I'm hoping to God the place that does my hair opens up, because I am in desperate need of a trim. There might be some sacrifices. I've had to shift another trip home to see my mom and dad. Don't even know if the shift is going to happen. Well, the shift I've done. I just don't know if the trip is going to be able to happen at the end of July like I rescheduled it to. But it's going to happen. I don't know when, but I'm going to be able to get to go on that trip. I'm going to be able to get to see my parents. We're all going to be back to normal at some point. We just got to keep the faith and not do anything crazy. So easy. I've talked to so many people who are just operating in fear. They're operating on information that was new back when this COVID thing has started. Look, we know for a fact that science, that the virus is killed in the fresh air and the sunlight. The advantage we have here in Central Florida is we got plenty of it. Heat and direct sun is your friend this year. If you're not feeling it and you really need to talk to somebody and you don't have somebody to talk to, please, please, please reach out to me. If you know somebody who should be a guest or we should do a feature here on Joe Knows South Lake, please, please, please let me know. If you're watching us on the socials, like, love, and share. Very, very important. It helps us spread the audience, get the word out about all the cool stuff that we are covering, all the places that we're letting people know are open. Finally, as John has been using his greatness for years to bring out the greatness in others, I encourage you, there's greatness in you. Use your greatness to touch another life. You touch a life and you will change the world. You may never see the change, but it will change nonetheless. This has been Joe Carlisle and John C. Donahue on Joe Knows South Lake. I will see you tomorrow, and I love you. Bye-bye.
My name is Joe. 20 years ago, my wife and I moved to Lake County with our 4 young children and settled down. In that time, we've worked, worshiped, played, and raised our family. Today, I've met the people and discovered the businesses and organizations that make up a vibrant, dynamic community. Join us as we share with you what makes South Lake great. I'm Joe, and Joe Knows South Lake. Joe Knows South Lake would like to thank the following sponsors: